Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Petrosky. I'm going to read to you Paddington this afternoon from one of my favorite spots. It is my porch swing. It's such a nice day. I hope you got outside today too, or you're about to get outside. Remember when we stopped reading Paddington last time? He had been with Mr. Grubber, and Mr. Grubber had told him that he had this wonderful painting, and that he had found that when he removed the first layer of painting that there was a masterpiece underneath. And so Paddington had this fantastic idea, or so he thought, that he was going to go home to his house and go to the drawing room where Mr. Brown did lots of work, and he was going to see if he could remove Mr. Brown's painting to find a masterpiece underneath. But it was a problem, because of course Mr. Brown is not a professional artist, and he only did one painting. And so when Paddington removed the painting, there was really nothing underneath. Let's continue. Paddington had found the paints in a cupboard under the stairs, a whole box of them. There were reds and greens and yellows and blues. In fact, there were so many different colors, it was difficult to know which to choose first. He wiped the brush carefully on his hat and tried another color, and then another. It was all so interesting, and he thought he would try a bit of each, and he very soon forgot the fact that he was supposed to be painting a picture. In fact, it was more of a design than a picture, with lines and circles and crosses in all different colors. Even Paddington was startled when he finally stepped back to examine it. Of the original picture, there was no trace at all. Rather sadly, he put the tubes of paint back into the box and wrapped the picture in a canvas bag, leaving it against the wall exactly as he found it, he decided, reluctantly to have another try later on. Painting was fun while it lasted, but it was much more difficult than it looked. He was very silent all through dinner that evening. He was so silent that several times Mrs. Brown asked him how he was, until eventually Paddington asked to be excused and went upstairs. "I do hope he's all right, Henry," she said. After he'd gone, he barely touched his dinner, and that's so unlike him, and he seemed to have some funny red spots all over his face. "Crikey," said Jonathan, "red spots? I hope he's given it to me, whatever it is, then I shan't have to go back to school." So Jonathan doesn't want to have to go back to school, and he's hoping that whatever Paddington has, that Paddington gives it to him so he can stay home. Remember, Judy and Jonathan live in a different part of the world where boys and girls go away to school, and they actually live at their school instead of living at their house. Also, remember, Paddington doesn't have any sickness at all. Instead, those spots were from the paint. All right, well, he's got green ones as well, said Judy. I saw some green ones. Green ones? Even Mr. Brown looked worried. I wonder if he's sickening for anything. If they're not gone in the morning, I'll send for the doctor. He was so looking forward to going to the handicrafts expedition too, said Mrs. Brown. It'll be a shame if he has to stay in bed. Do you think you'll win a prize with your painting, Dad? Asked Jonathan. Oh, no. Mr. Brown was doing that painting to enter into a contest, and he has no idea that Paddington has reinvented the whole thing. No one will be more surprised than your father if he does, replied Mrs. Brown. He's never won a prize yet. What is it, Daddy? Asked Judy. Aren't you going to tell us? It's meant to be a surprise, said Mr. Brown modestly. It took me a long time to do it. It's painted from memory. Painting was one of Mr. Brown's hobbies, and once a year he entered a picture for a handicrafts expedition, which was held in Kensington, near where they lived. Several famous people came to judge the picture, and there were a number of prizes. There were also lots of other competitions, and it was a sore point with Mr. Brown that he had never won anything, whereas twice Mrs. Brown had won a prize in the rug-making competition. Anyway, he said, declaring the subject closed, it's too late now. The man collected it this afternoon, so we shall see what we shall see. The sun was shining the next day, and the exhibition was crowded. Everyone was pleased that Paddington looked so much better. His spots had completely disappeared, and he ate a large breakfast to make up for his missing so much dinner the night before. Only Mrs. Bird had her suspicions when she found Paddington's spots on his towel in the bathroom. But she kept her thoughts to herself. The Browns occupied the middle 5 seats in the front row where the judging was to take place. There was an air of great excitement. It was news to Paddington that Mr. Brown actually painted, and he was looking forward to seeing a picture by someone he knew. So Paddington doesn't even know that he has painted over Mr. Brown's painting. On the platform, several important-looking men with beards were bustling about, talking to each other and waving their arms in the air. They appeared to be having a great deal of argument about one painting in particular. "Henry," whispered Mrs. Brown excitedly, "I do believe they're talking about yours. I recognize the canvas bag." Mr. Brown looked puzzled. "It certainly looked like my bag," he said, "but I don't think it can be. All the canvas was stuck to the painting, didn't you see? Just as if someone had put it inside while it was still wet. I printed mine ages ago." Paddington sat very still and stared straight ahead, hardly daring to move. He had a strange sinking feeling in the bottom of his stomach, as if something awful was about to happen. He began to wish that he hadn't washed his spots off that morning. Then at least he could have stayed in bed. Judy poked him with her elbow. "What's the matter, Paddington?" she asked. "You look most peculiar. Are you all right?" "I don't feel ill," said Paddington in a small voice, "but I think I'm in trouble again." "Oh dear," said Judy. "Well, keep your paws crossed. This is it." Paddington sat up. One of the men on the platforms, the most important-looking one, with the biggest beard, was speaking. And there, Paddington's knees began to tremble. There on the platform, on an easel, in full view of everyone, was his picture. He was so dazed that he only caught scraps of what the man was saying. Remarkable use of color, very unusual, great imagination, credit to the artist. And then he almost fell off his seat with surprise. The winner of the first prize is Mr. Henry Brown of 32 Windsor Gardens. Paddington wasn't the only one who felt surprised. Mr. Brown, who was being helped up onto the platform, looked as if he had just been struck by lightning. But, he muttered, there must be some mistake." "Mistake?" said the man with the beard. "Nonsense, my dear sir. Your name's on the back of the canvas. You are Mr. Brown, aren't you, Mr. Henry Brown?" Mr. Brown looked at the painting with unbelieving eyes. "It certainly is my name on the back," he said. "It's my writing." He left the sentence unfinished and looked down again towards the audience. He had his own ideas on the subject, but it was difficult to catch Paddington's eye. It usually was when you particularly wanted to. "I think," said Mr. Brown, when the applause had died down and he had accepted the check for £10, which the man gave him, proud as I am, "I think I would like to donate the prize to a certain home for retired bears in South America." A murmur of surprise went round the assembly, but it passed over Paddington's head, though that would have been very pleased had he known its cause. He was staring hard at the painting, and in particular at the man with the large beard, who was beginning to look hot and bothered. "I think," said Paddington to the world in general, they might have stood it the right way up. It's not every day a bear wins first prize in a painting competition." So, the painting that Paddington had done, which was really quite on accident, he wasn't planning on putting it into the competition, has now won the competition. And the judges think that it's Mr. Brown who has done it. Mr. Brown realized pretty quick. He gave us a clue because he said, "I think I'll donate the winnings to the Home for Retired Bears in South America." And we know that Paddington's Aunt Lucy, she lives in South America, so he knows that Paddington had something to do with it. Tomorrow, we will read Chapter 6, A Visit to the Theater. I hope you guys get outside and enjoy the afternoon. Have a great day, guys. Bye.